2 minutes the boosters drop off. They used to recover those in the ocean. They could use them again. Another 6 minutes on this on the main engines. And in 8.5 minutes, you go from 0 to 25,000 kilometers an hour. Go around the Earth every 90 minutes. And then you get a chance to parallel park with a space station. It's going the same speed. We actually fly this from inside, and we have some instruments that help. But in the end, we fly it by eye. We look out, and we fly in by eye. It's an interesting exercise. Time to open the hatch, time to go inside. The first time I visited the space station, it was empty, an empty shell. The second time, 2 years later, 3 people lived there, and there was a difference between a house and a home. There are people there. We were a little late, actually, so your usage, we were about 4 months late, to be honest. So they're very happy to see us. Yeah, thank God you came to rescue us. That's your usage, have a great cosmonaut. You come into someone's home, there's a meal ready. People have prepared a place for us in their home. Yeah, she's saying, I'm really happy to be here. You're here, 2 hands flapping. But the point is that I knew, that was my 3rd flight, and I knew how to work in space. But when I visited the space station with people on board, I learned what it's like to live in space, which is where we're really going. We're transitioning now from working in space, which is what I did, to living in space, which is what the station people do. Of course, there's lots of jobs to do when you get there. We're fixing radios, we're repairing batteries, putting mufflers up because the space station's loud. Fixing the doors squeak on the space station. So we had to fix that problem. This is how we deliver food. That's how we were trained to deliver food, but it's not how we actually did it. Once we got there, we realized this is how you deliver food in space. And you make the rookie put it all away. So even the people who train us to fly in space don't really understand how it feels and what it's like to be there, because you actually just have to go to understand that. To go outdoors was the ultimate dream of mine. To leave the space shuttle and go into space on my own. You can see we're getting ready to go. It takes about a day to get your suit and all your things together to be able to go outdoors. It takes about 2 hours in the morning to put on all the garments and the various things that make you safe. And you know that a couple hours from now, you're not going to be in a place that has lots of air. You're not going to be in a place that's just warm enough. But it's also something that, again, I waited for forever. There's about 200 steps that have to be done perfectly to make it right. So we brought along a colonel in the United States Marines, because they're very good at checking every box. Outdoors, for the very first time. I looked at the Earth from here, and it's incredible. There's just no photograph. I'll show you some photographs later, but there's no photograph that can show you the beauty of the Earth. It has to be seen with your eye. We ride on a robot arm, and we cooperate from the crew inside, who put us just in the right spot to be able to get the job done. There's all sorts of tasks that are done. Mostly we're unbolting things from the space shuttle. Here you can see us working on the dog pillars. And sometimes things go wrong. This particular latch froze up, so we had to go get extra equipment and make it work. But that's where the training pays off. When you run into trouble, the training allows you to get past that, to fix that problem, and to have a successful event. So come back inside, do a little exercise. Not a lot of free weights in space, because they don't work that way. So you push against springs and pulleys, because your bones and your muscles get weak if you don't. We have a treadmill in space. But you can see, here's our Marine colonel having to hold on to the treadmill, because if you don't, you just float off. It's hard to get exercise. This is Tammy catching lunch on the fly. This is stupid astronaut tricks, because you just gotta know it. That's me. Having a really good time with my friends. Look at that. His eyeballs are popping out. You can get stuck in the middle of a room in the space station. You can dance. This is our ballerina. We did three-dimensional dancing in space. The food's not bad. We didn't have any Malaysian food, unfortunately. But my favorites are things like chicken with rice. But the big part is you can play with your food. So you can see. After a couple days, it's time to come home. We undocked from the space station. The adventure is not quite over yet, though. You can see right here, it looks like one vehicle is moving, but actually the other one's firing thrusters. So who's moving where is a difficult conversation in space. This is us training our commander to fly us home the next day. So I told him he couldn't use his hands. He just had to grab the M&Ms one by one out of here. I was doing some science that I brought along just to amuse myself. These are magnets. That would be interesting to see what happens when magnets just float. And if we have a chance during the questions, remind me and I'll give you a puzzle about something that surprised me about those magnets as I used them in space. Liquids are the best, okay? Liquids are the best. So this is Tammy. She's 5 times on the space shuttle. She's teaching me how to drink my juice out of the air. So you punch your straw into the ball of juice, and you drink it out of the air. It won't even stay in a cup anyway. It just forms up in a ball. So I was like, Tammy, you gotta really teach me more about this. And so she said, sure. And she brought these little goldfish with her and put them in the ball of water. And we're pushing the ball of water around the cabin. And you do that by just puffing on it. So you just puff on the water, and it floats along as a little ball. And you try not to let it hit the wall. Those are the kind of goldfish that are just crackers, by the way. They're not actually the swimming. No animals were hurt in this. Very careful about that. But you can see the interesting physics that's going on, right? Because surface tension dominates. So the physics of that little ball is interesting. We were having such a good time that the rest of the crew came out. This is what you get for an astronaut party, you know? 5 people and some fruit juice. So what can I say? But this idea of surface tension really captured my attention. So I got 2 different types of juice, and I got them to be balls in front, and then I used a little bit of string to push them together, just so you can see how it works. Look at that. Oh, isn't that neat? I think that's really interesting. Then you have to drink your experiment. It actually tasted terrible, but I pretend it was good. Things you do for cameras. We do a lot of student experiments. This is Starshine, which is an experiment about 600 mirrors used to look at orbital mechanics of a satellite, because the sun would reflect off the mirrors, and it was easy for students to track the satellite. Entry is as dynamic as launch. So entry takes about 45 minutes. Remember I said launch is about 8 minutes? And the first thing that happens as you come back into the atmosphere is these big balls of fire start popping off the tail. And you can see that. It looks like flash bulbs going off inside the orbiter. So I was like, is that supposed to happen? The guys were like, yeah, that happens. So then we had St. Elmo's fire inside the window panes, green and blue and purple balls of fire inside the window panes. Is that supposed to happen? Yeah, that happened. The space shuttle hits densities in the atmosphere. Bam! Bam! The whole thing shakes and rattles as it comes in. I didn't even ask if that was supposed to happen. Nobody else is getting upset. It must be okay. It's a glider. It was a glider. From 12,000 kilometers away, you fire the last engine and you just glide the rest of the way in. It's just past Malaysia where we fire the last engine to land in Florida. Right? So you need to get to that runway and you have no engines. So you have to get there the very first time. It's tricky to do. That's where training comes in. This thing flies like a brick. You know, when you land in an airliner, it's about a 3-degree descent This feels comfortable. This is about a 21-degree descent, and about twice as fast. So it's a sporty ride. It's fun. You really gotta try it. You finally get down, the parachute comes out. It's the end of this incredible adventure. And when it's finally done, what do you think everybody says? After Yahoo! Everybody says, when can I go again? When's my next trip? I was very fortunate to be able to fly 3 times. However, as you referred to, after you're down on the ground, your mind is still, part of it's still in space. So when I got off the space shuttle, I went into the main cabin, and my friend was talking to me, congratulations, great flight, good job. And then the technician came and handed me my change of clothes. And I said, oh, thank you very much. And you know what I did with them? I left them in the air to float. Which, of course, they didn't do. Bam. So they tell the spouses when they get back from space, don't hand them the baby. Yeah. My son Andy's in the audience. Maybe I'll embarrass him a little bit, because that's what dads do to sons. But he was about maybe 8 years old when this was happening, and 2 days after my first landing, we were just getting up in the morning and kind of snuggling around, and I wanted to get out of bed, so I tried to pick Andy up by his pajamas and float him to the other side of the bed, and he's like, Dad, what are you doing? I'm trying to lift up here. So it took me 3 days to get better after that first space flight, a week before I get back to flying jet aircraft. And this was interesting. After the second mission, which was 3 years later, about the same length, I got better in 1 day without doing anything different. And then 2 years later, for the last flight, I was better in a couple of hours. So there's something about our brains. We adapt to new situations so well. It's the essence of what biology does. So with that, I think we can go through the slides, and I'll just tell a little bit more about some of the details. We want to go ahead and set up the slides. People ask me, what's the best thing about being in space? What is the best thing? And it actually changed from flight to flight. The very first flight, the best thing about being in space was the view of the Earth. My job was photo TV. I was supposed to take pictures, and the best thing, I was like, that's a great job, because I'm going to get to see the Earth and take photos of it. So I studied thousands of photos of the Earth, and I thought I knew exactly what the Earth looked like. But when I got there, I realized there's no photo that can show you the beauty of the Earth. The depth of the colors is so far beyond what a piece of film or a digital camera can take, but our eyes can still see. The whiteness of the clouds against the blackness of the sky has too much dynamic range for a camera to capture, but our eyes can see it. So my first view of the Earth is a memory that's burned in my head, because I thought I knew what the Earth looked like, because I studied all these photos. And it is so far beyond what any photograph can ever show you. The only way you're going to appreciate the beauty of this planet is to go yourself. And I encourage you to do it. This is a T-38 aircraft. So this is a plane that we use to train, to get used to unusual positions. When I went to NASA, I had flown very little. And I didn't have experience at very high speeds and unusual orientations. They get you over that quickly, because you start flying in this jet, and it loves being upside down. It'll roll 720 degrees a second. So you fly, you go upside down, you go right side up, you go upside down, you go right side up in 1 second. And my friends and I would say, how many times can we do that in a row? Next slide. This thing's a beauty in the air, supersonic, and as I said, it's the best training device we have. Partly because it's an old aircraft and it breaks a lot, and you want to know how it feels to have a broken aircraft in the atmosphere before you have one in space. Next slide. Getting ready to go. Shuttle's on the pad, flying to Florida about 3 days before launch. In fact, if you look carefully, you'll see there's 2 shuttles on these pads, which is unusual. Next one. In the air, 100 miles an hour, 160 kilometers an hour before you clear the pad. This thing is like a smack in the back of the head, slams you back in the seat, goes off. We call the first part shake and bake because you're shaking all around. You can't really do much other than ride along. But then it gets easy. You just kind of pushes back. The most you get is 3 Gs. I can't imagine getting 9 Gs. Forget about 9 Gs. 3 Gs. So it's actually an easy ride. And John Glenn made this ride, was 77 years old. So the shuttle was a sweet way to get to space. Next one. Just another pretty picture of the Space Shuttle Discovery. I flew on Discovery twice. It's too bad these launches are done because getting to watch is almost, well, it's not almost as fun as being in them, but it's a pretty neat experience. The shuttle, the closest you can get is about 5 kilometers away. And when it launches, you know how it sounded here? It's so much better than that. It shakes your chest from 5 miles away. Thundering roar. This is a puzzle. What do you think this is? Take a close look at it. What do you think that is? I'll give you a hint. The location in the world that picture was taken from is Florida. And the place that picture was taken from is the space station. What do you think? I'll tell you what that picture is. Remember how your Yusachef gave us a big hug when we got there? Because they didn't know. They were like, we're 4 months late. When are these guys coming? Well, they knew for sure we were coming to get them when they flew over and saw the plume from our launch and took a picture of it. So that's actually a picture taken from the space station of the space shuttle launch coming up to pick up the crew that took the picture. You just gotta go. I mean, you go around the Earth every 90 minutes, you see a sunrise and sunset every 45. Thunderstorms, beautiful. Just gotta go. These banks of clouds. Look at the different layers of blue in the atmosphere. The atmosphere has about 14 separate different layers of blue. Nobody told me that. I didn't know that. Like, why didn't you guys tell me? You know what they said? We wanted you to see it for yourself. Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights. When I first saw these, Rick Husband, my best friend, called me up and said, Dr. Dan, you gotta come up and look out the window. So I came up and looked out the window. He actually pulled me by my shirt right over to the window. This shirt that I was wearing when he did that. He said, look at this thing. And we looked out below and we saw, actually it was Aurora Australis, the Southern Lights, extending about 2,000 kilometers, this bright green neon snake in the atmosphere. We were above it. We flew above the Aurora. This was the space station when I first saw it. Tiny little thing, 2 little modules. First mission to dock with. 2 years later, that's what it looked like. It was transformed from a house to a home, a place where people really lived, didn't just work. Now I'm really having a good time. I waited forever to do this. And when I actually got outside, well, I'll show you the next slide. This was my first spacewalk, and you can see that I'm sitting on the robot arm. And there was actually a task to do inside the payload bay of the space shuttle. But I told my friend, just drive me up as high as you can, because I want to see the Earth, not just from above the sky, but from above the space shuttle. And I got there, and that was the moment that I thought about all those people that said, you're never going to do it. I said, they were wrong. And I tried to pinch myself, but you can't pinch yourself through that thick skin, so you gotta do it. I think you talked about the food already. It's pretty good. Making food's fun too. Sleeping is great. I sleep like a rock in space. I also tend to either sleep on a wall or a ceiling, because you can choose. Now that the space shuttle program is over, I can tell you a hint. If you had flown on the space shuttle, where you want to sleep is on the front wall, going toward the right side. The reason for that is that's where the oven is, the galley, and that stays warm all night and it keeps your feet warm. I never wanted to tell anybody that because I figured all the other astronauts would try to steal my spot. Now you know. It is great to fly. So I talked about how on the first flight, my favorite thing was looking at the Earth, trying to pick out features of the Earth. And on my second flight, the best thing, because now we were docked to a space station, which gave us 10 times the volume on the inside. And the best thing about this was, it's like having magic powers. Because you're in this room that you've trained in for years. It's not like you're in a special room. All the switches are in the same spot. Everything looks the same. So it's not like you're in a new place. It's like you are Superman. You have magic powers. You push off with your pinky finger and you fly to the top of the balcony. And then you push back and you fly again. You have magic powers. It's incredible, and it's a sport. When you first do it, you bang your head. I had all these cuts and bruises. It was terrible. It's incredible. It's the thing I miss most about the physical feeling of being in space. Camaraderie, having dinner together. On my third flight, I discovered the best thing about being in space. The views of the Earth are beautiful. The feeling of magic is incredible. But the best thing about being in space is that you're doing it with people who are just as passionate as you are, who are smart and talented, and after a year of training in flying jet aircraft 500 miles an hour, 3 feet apart, have become your best friends. And this sense of teamwork, this sense of camaraderie, this sense of we're in this together, and we're going to do this very, very difficult thing, and we're going to do it well, as a team, as friends, that was the best thing about flying in space. Playing cards at the International Space Station. Finally come home, and yeah, as I said, what everybody says when they get finally stopped is, when do I get to go next? So, where are we going from here? I think that you mentioned that one of the reasons to go to space is to find the aliens. I think that is a big motivation for me. I want to see an alien. And so when I went outside for the first time, I said, if there's any out here, I'm going to find them. And the way I did that is we had a chance for the very first time to turn off the lights outside the space shuttle. We did that because we wanted to test the helmet lights in our suit. So I'm in a completely darkened space shuttle, and the only light that's on is this light from my suit and my buddy's suit. And he turned his off after a while because we wanted to look at the stars together, which is hard to do when all the lights are on. I thought, here's my shot. So I started blinking my helmet light, right? Because if there's anybody out there, I'm the only guy they're gonna see. Come on, come get me. I'm ready. Looking for the aliens. Didn't see any. Too bad. But if there's a place where we might find life that we can get to, it's Mars. And we could do that right now. We have the technology. All we need is the political will to go to Mars. And if we get there and we find out that there is life on Mars, and even if it's just a tiny little microbe, if it's fundamentally different than life on Earth, which means it doesn't have RNA or it doesn't have DNA, if it's fundamentally different so that we know it's not based on Earth life, then what have we said? We've said there's life in 2 places. And once you have 2, that means it's everywhere. And these hundreds of billions of star systems, hundreds of billions of galaxies have to be filled with life. And it simply means we have to look hard enough. So by finding life in any other place, we will answer the question, we will know that we are not alone. What happens if we get to Mars and we find out there's no life there, and there never has been life there? And we also verify that Mars used to be wet and warm, just like the kind of things that we think are required for life. Well, that's kind of a scary thing. If no life arose in this place that was so perfect for life to be, could it be that we are alone? We're it? Nobody else exists? If that's the case, then the second reason we go to Mars becomes even more important. Because the second reason we go to Mars is it will make our species immortal. Immortal. Our species will live forever because right now, one thing can kill us all. An asteroid can kill us all. Biological, crazy virus thing could kill us all. Ecological runaway could kill us all. But once we exist in two planets, independent of each other, there's no single event that can kill all the human beings in existence. And that means Star Trek will happen. The music that they play will be real. There'll be a Captain Kirk someday. We're gonna go. We're gonna go. And not only that, the plans that are being laid for Mars are about 30 years away. And the people that are gonna go are gonna be on the order of 45 years old. So the first Martian might be sitting in this room. I hope so. I hope so. And when you go, take some pictures and send them back for me, okay? I think we'll skip the last video. Yeah, we're going to end it up here, so we can just stop the slides. Because I want to leave time for lots of questions. And the main message, though, I hope you got the main message, which is, it doesn't matter if you're not smart enough. It doesn't matter if you're not good looking enough. It doesn't matter if you're not athletic enough. Don't believe them when they tell you you can't do it, because if you really want it and you work at it every day and you never say no, your dream is going to come true. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. And Barry? Right, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for questions and answers. I will act as the moderator. Now, before you proceed, kindly state your name and your establishment, where you're from, and also to whom your question is directed. Yeah. So do we have the first question? Or should I start first? I think I should start first, yeah. I do have a question. What's the difference, if there is any, between an astronaut and a cosmonaut? Very simple one, I think, yeah. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Danial.
It's mostly just what language they had growing up. You know, I'm kind of serious about that because I flew with, in the same flight, we had a Russian in the Colonel Air Force, Valery Tokarev, and we had a captain in the United States Navy, and we had a colonel in the United States Air Force. And one day, as we were together, I realized that the job of these guys, what they were trained to do, was to kill each other. When they signed up for their career, they signed up for a job that entailed killing the other guy on the screen. Seriously, that was the job. And so I'm watching these guys get together, and you know, I was never in the military. I have some flying experience, but nothing close to what these guys have. But all pilots do the same thing when they get together and they talk. They do this. Because they're describing, yeah, I did this big 5G pull-up, and then I got on the guy's tail. And sure enough, these three guys are sitting there doing exactly that. And at that moment, I realized that the space program brings people together. These guys who are trained to kill each other have now realized they're the exact same kind of person. And that's a powerful message. So the difference between an astronaut and a cosmonaut? So what language your parents taught you to speak at first?
Thank you very much.
I just want to add up, it's actually the term used for which countries you are from. As I said, cosmonauts are Russians, astronauts are American, taekwondo are Chinese, angkasawan are Malaysian.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Second question, please. Yes. Proceed to the mic.
Hello. Okay. Right. Basically, I'm Simpson. Okay. Taking mechanical engineering year one. Right. There are two questions which I want to ask. First one. Okay. Can you tell me the difference between an astronaut and also a spaceflight participant and also a space visitor? Basically, they should have some differences between these three. So astronaut, spaceflight participant, and also space visitor. Alright. Second question is, basically, normally you guys tell us how beautiful the Earth is. Right? Can you actually tell us how beautiful the stars are? What is the magnitude which you can see from the shuttle or even when you are doing EVA? Right.
Okay, I think one question per person would be. Yeah, thank you very much. Do we take one question at a time, or do we go 2 or 3 questions at one go?
Yeah, I'll just go for the first question probably. The difference between spaceflight participant, astronaut, and space tourist. Okay, these are two different terms. There's been a confusion since I came back down. There's been a controversial issue that says that I'm a spaceflight participant or a space tourist. Okay, listen to me carefully. Space flight participants are countries which is not a member of the ISS. So Malaysia is not a member of the ISS. There's only about 14 countries which is a member of the ISS, which is Russia, America, Japan, Canada, and 14 European countries. So they are called astronauts or cosmonauts. So other countries which are not a member of the ISS, like Malaysia, like Korea recently who went up to space, we are called space flight participants, but we are still certified as astronauts or cosmonauts. And space tourists are different. They pay their way about 25 million US dollars. They train for only less than 6 months. They are not really allowed to do much in space because they are space tourists. And so far we have 6 space tourists who has gone to space, and recently Anusha Ansari, who is from Iran, is actually the last space tourist who has gone to space. Thank you.
Well, I guess I would just say one thing on that issue is that now that I've met you and I've heard your passion, we're both astronauts here. I mean, that's just the way it is. I don't know about all the titles and that sort of thing, but I know someone who has the kind of passion and drive for spacewalk that I see. So, in terms of the stars, they're incredible. They don't blink, they don't twinkle. Other than that, actually, they look pretty much the same as you see from the Earth. They're not really that much different. However, I will say that during a spacewalk, I saw Mars as this bright red marble sitting in the sky. It was just right in the middle of the spacewalk. I was very surprised by it. I kind of just looked up and saw it, and it was as if Mars was calling me. It's like, come on and visit. Yeah, I'll try. I'll be there someday.
Okay.
I just want to add one more thing. Just now, Dr. Danial actually told us that in 20 years he never met anybody who has the same passion, right? Basically, we are actually setting up an astronomy club, and you can actually search it in Facebook, UNITEN Astronomy Club. Alright, thank you.
Okay, good. Right. Thank you very much. Next person, with your question, please.
My name is Clinton Ramlin. I'm doing electrical electronics in UNITEN. My first question is your spacesuit. Your spacesuit is